A very good evening to all participants from LBN People's Podium for the 29th Ask the Expert session, powered by All Ladies League, Seven Sisters, and LBN Tech Solutions. This is a third informational webinar under the banner of Seven Sisters of All Ladies League. Seven Sisters is a project of global solidarity by All Ladies League, a global organization for expanding the vibe and tribe of sisterhood and empowering collective action for the betterment of society. Among other activities, conducting informational webinars is one. Today's eminent speaker gracing the stage is Mr. Arvind Kumar Shankar, Industrialist and Cultural Ambassador, and the topic is the Mystic Temple of Meenakshi. A little bit about our esteemed speaker. Arvind Kumar Shankar is an industrialist and builder who established Arvind Constructions in Madurai 27 years ago. Arvind has a passion for philanthropy, art, and culture, and is the founder president of Chinmaya Yuva Kendra in Madurai, and has the privilege of being handpicked by Swami Chinmayananda himself. Swami Dayananda initiated Arvind to instill values to the underprivileged children, and so he founded Ujwala, that taught morals and values to children of broken families. He runs Lalita Charities and Meera Charities, where a lot is done towards education. Arvind's passion to share his knowledge further led to the formation of LAMPS Trust, Lalita Arts and Music Promotion Social Trust, where he documented and revived various art forms. Arvind is also the author of the book Pulli Kolam and the Creative Mind, and has been appreciated by the president of the World Crafts Council. He was instrumental in forming the Madurai chapter of the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, INTAC, where he demonstrates his passion for art and culture and helped the chapter gain national recognition. And he plays the veena, the violin, the flute, and knows the nuances of Bharatanatyam and the techniques of Carnatic vocal singing, having learned from eminent gurus like Neveli Santana Gopalan, Sri Lakshmi Narayanan, Sri Shankara Shiva Bhupati, and MS Subbalakshmi's cousin, Srimati Meenakshi Ramasubramaniam. So the floor is all yours, Arvind Kumar Shankar, and he's going to take us on a journey to the Madurai Meenakshi Amman Temple. Over to you, Arvind.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. First and foremost, thank you very much, Mrs. Meghalai, for having, brought me into this forum. It's really a pleasure to talk about our hometown, our temple, and mystic goddess. Today, we are all going to see about Meenakshi. And when we think of Meenakshi, first we'll have to go back to the sacred city of Madurai. And Madurai has been the seat for art and culture, definitely. And why? Because Madurai has been one of the oldest continuously existing cities in the world. And it has been in existence BC. I think we can trace even before 2,500 years. Sangam era has has happened. The Tamil Sangam has existed in Madurai. So Madurai has been there during that period. And it has been a place. Today, people think of Madurai. When they think of Madurai, they think of rustic, countrified, depictions. But I would say Madurai, how many of us know that Madurai has been a place where one of the most refined forms of art and culture and craft have existed. Today, when you take our ivory carvings, the Nayak period carvings have been one of the best, and even now you can find many of them, and you can see that how much better it is to do. So we've had such great craftsmen here, be it woodwork, be it stone carving, be it icons, bronzes. We can go on and on. And another fact is we've had a Chitrakara street where they say, we'll have to, it is very, very debatable, we'll have to check. They say that Raja Ravi Verma came here to learn the oil and canvas technique of painting, and from which all our Ravi Verma prints have come into existence. So there is a Chitrakara street, and there has been some Westerners who have come here to teach that. So, hearing all this, we see that Madurai has been one of the oldest places, and so it is a melting pot of all cultures, all forms of cultures. We've had even people like the Marathas have ruled over Madurai for just a couple of years, and there was a proof for it in the police station in the Veliveedi. And so when you think of this ancient town, we cannot forget the temple. So till the 6th century, when you look at the works of on Madurai, we don't find the temple mentioned anywhere. So that doesn't mean that the temple didn't exist. The temple may have been a very different sort of a depiction, may have been a much smaller version of what it is today. And 6th century onwards, there has been references, and the goddess has been referred to as Kayalviri, Angayar Kanni, Tada Tagai, etc. And to know more about it, we should now go into mythology. Mythology is very interesting, and we should, it'll be nice to hear that. And today we have Meenakshi's story in front of us. We have Malayadwaja Pandian and Kanchanamala, who were suffering without a child, and they did a big yajna, and it is said that the goddess came out of the yagam, and she had, the king was very upset that she was a girl, and he wanted a son, an heir to rule the throne, and it was much to his disappointment that it was a girl. But from the Almighty, he had a asariri, he heard somebody say that the goddess, he had two sort of worries when the goddess was supposed to have been from having 3 breasts, and that worried him a lot. And also he was worried that she was a girl and not a boy. So they said that let her be like that, and when she comes of marriageable age, she will be when she meets her man, she will resume to a normal form. And these are all stories in mythology which are depicting something else. So when we go deep into it, we will come to know that the 3rd breast is supposed to be that of one's ego. Anavam, Karmam, and Maya are the 3 breasts which are depictions. And when knowledge falls on your ego, the ego disappears. That's what it is in the whole story. And so she comes of age, and the king passes away. And Tadatakai, before he passes away, he makes her the queen. There is a Pattabhishekam conducted for her. And when she is made queen, she is given the name Meenakshi. Till then, she was not referred to as Meenakshi. And Meenakshi means the fish-eyed goddess in a way. And the deeper meaning of the word is she who has the eyes like the eyes of a fish, because the eyes of a fish don't have eyelids. So she is supposed to be always awake, always alert, always there for her devotees to shower her blessings on us. So that is the real meaning of the word Meenakshi. And so Meenakshi goes on a Dikvijayam. She goes on all the 8 directions. She wins over Lord Indra, then she wins over Agni, the Lord of Fire. She wins over
Arvind,
Yama.
are you sharing something now? Are you sharing
No.
screen because we're not able to see?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
And she goes and wins over even the god of death, and then wins over nature, Varuna, Vayu, everything. And finally, she comes to the northeast, which is the abode of Shiva, where she meets him, and she would have won over him. But since her third breast of ego vanishes, she understands that her Lord is Lord Shiva, and she, sends word to marry him. So he comes to Madurai, and the marriage, celestial wedding between Shiva and Parvati takes place. And another story of Shiva is he comes here as Sundareshwara, and it is said to be that he had given a word to the Himavan's wife Mena in her previous birth that in the next birth when he comes, he'll come in the most handsome form. And so in the next birth, Mena is born as Kanchanamala, and Parvati as Meenakshi, and Shiva comes as Sundareshwara and fulfills her wish. And he remains here in Madurai and calls it his home. And that is why in Tamil there is a word which says Tennadu Udaya Sivane Potri. He says, this is my home. So Madurai has the pride of having the Almighty call it his own home. And also Madurai goes back to the when you think of Madurai as a town, it has several other names. First, Madurai got its name as Madurai because he's supposed to have sprinkled one drop of honey, which is called Madhu, and this city is supposed to have emerged. So Madurai got its name as Madurai. And other names that Madurai has got is the Nanmada Kudai. When there was a big storm and Indra had destroy the city, Lord Shiva is supposed to have come in the form of clouds on all 4 directions to protect the city, and city alone got protected. And Madam means cloud, and Madam also means tower. So all those 4 clouds became 4 towers of the city. This is a mythological story, but the actual story is when we go to the temple, we have huge towers on all 4 directions. The Rajagopuram, the one to the east, is supposed to be, wait, let me share that. The Rajagopuram is supposed to be built by Maravarman Sundaran, and that is 123 feet in height, and it is the east facing, and one of the most majestic, and it's literally in the northeast part of the temple. And if at all, there are totally 14 gopurams in the temple, but let us just talk about 2 of it. And this Rajagopuram takes you straight to Sundareshwara's shrine. And Meenakshi does not have a tower against her. Actually, Tirumalai Nayakar wanted to build a temple, a tower, opposite her sanctum, which is one of the tallest in South India. And during the Nayak period, he had made the foundation for it. And for some reason, uh, some saintly person said it cannot be done, so it was left just with the foundation. So that place is called the Vittavasal. So the Vittavasal is something which is just left like that, half finished with just the foundation. So Meenakshi does not have a tower in front of her. And also, in front of her, basically, we have the Nagara Mandapam. The Nagara Mandapam is right in front of the temple, which is this, what you see right now. It's across the 4 streets which engulf the temple, the Chittirai streets. Inside the temple, one prakaram itself is called a street. It's called the RD streets. And Madurai is this temple-centric. So we have the 4 RD streets, the 4 Chittirai streets, the 4 Avani streets, the 4 Masi streets, and then the outside Velividi. This is what Madurai is. And we have had a fort earlier. There is proof for that. It has been a fortified city, and the fort was beyond the Velividi. That's how it has been. And these names are names of Tamil months. And there has been festivals in every month during these months in which these gods have been taken in procession. And after this Nagara Mandapam, we go into her main entrance, which is looking like this, and it's a small sort of a thing in which we enter, and then this is called the Ashtasakti Mandapam. And Ashtasakti means all 8 Shaktis are there, and those depictions, and it's a sort of a concave structure on top with all these sort of 8 deities on all 4 on each side. All the 8 goddesses, the Raudri, the Kaumari, the Vaishnavi, the Maheshwari, and the Shyamala have all been there as statues. And then after we cross that, we go into the Nayakar Mandapam, which is again a place where you find a lot of the statues of Shiva and Parvati in that. And then we go into a place called the Irittu Mandapam. The Irittu Mandapam is supposed to have supposed to be built by Kalatinatha Dadavai's son. And then we go to the Chitra Gopuram is there. The smallest 5-level Gopuram for Meenakshi is above that Irittu Mandapam. And then we cross that, we go into the Golden Lotus tank. Just a minute. I'll show you the Golden Lotus tank. And once you cross the Golden Lotus tank, we have the, what is very, very mystic about the Golden Lotus tank is, once you enter there on the left, you see the majestic South Gopuram, the southern Gopuram, which is supposed to be built by Vishwanatha Nayak and Aryanatha Dadavai, is the tallest of its the tallest of the Gopurams, and this is how it looks from the Golden Lotus tank side. And when you look at this Gopuram, you will realize, unlike other similar structures in the temple, as well as in other temple complexes, you will see that this particular Gopuram is very different because it caves in and caves out. It is not just a straight line on the sides. It's a very different style because when people, archaeologists researched into this, they said that this is a culmination of various styles of the other gopurams. And it is known as the Madurai style. So this gopuram has the maximum number of figures in it, and it is 160 feet tall, as versus the Rajagopuram, which is, I think, 123 feet, and the Western Gopuram is 111 feet. This is 160 feet. And people have been debating on why this sort of a depiction of something which is wide and it caves in and then it caves out. It's sort of a very different way of portraying the Gopuram. And they have concluded by saying that there is no street which is going perpendicular to this when you go out on the southern side. So you don't have a view of the tower from a long distance because there's no road which is perpendicular to it. So to come near it, to give it a sort of a mystic height, this sort of a thing was tried. So similarly, many such architectural wonders are there in our temple, which is we must have experts to come. We can even have a session where we can, talk about it. And we have, during Vishwanatha Nayak's period, the Aryanatha Dadavai, who lived in Tirunelveli, had made a 1,000-pillared hall in his hometown first. And seeing that, it is lesser known. It is the first of its kind was made in the Nellaiappar temple. And seeing that his son Kalathinath Dadavai made a 1,000-pillared hall, a hall of 1,000 pillars was there made. And this Ayirankal Mandapam is very, very famously known. And this is a picture of the 1,000-pillared hall in the Meenakshi Temple, which is today a museum. And what all of us can see it, you're all most welcome to Madurai to see this hall. And going in the Meenakshi shrine, you go in beyond the golden lotus tank. And talking about the golden lotus tank, the tank is supposed to be a mystic place because in one of the mythological stories, a crane is supposed to have fasted over there, and it got very tempted to eat the fish in the tank. So when Shiva came in front of the crane, it is supposed to have requested Shiva that this particular tank is not supposed to have any fish or any such reptiles, water creatures in it. And he has granted that boon to it so that people like its race don't get tempted when they come there and they start meditating on the Shiva. So even today, the great wonder is when there's a small puddle of water also, there is tadpoles and others in it. It's such a big water body. Even today, we don't find one single form of fish or anything there. I don't know how that is happening, but it still remains like that. And then you cross that, and on the right, it is during the Tirumalai Nayak's period that this entire temple was made into a single complex. And mud was dug from a place called Vandiyur near Madurai. And once the temple was completely finished and made into a single complex where the Shiva and the Shakti shrines and the Mahavishnu shrine, everything was put together and made into Meenakshi Sundareshwarar Koval. And it became a single only in the 17th century during Tirumala Nayakar's era. And after digging mud from there, they converted that entire space into a water body. And Thaipusam festival happens over there, Thaipusam being the birthday of Tirumala Nayakar himself. And when they dug out mud from there, this Ganesha is supposed to have been found. It's a huge structure. So Tirumala Nayakar has put this Ganesha right opposite the southern tower. When you enter the Meenakshi Temple from the south, which is how most people enter, you can see this huge structure right in front over there. And after that, after worshipping the mother goddess, when we go, we another amazing thing that is there is the Nandi Mandapam in the Swami Sannidhi. And that Nandi Mandapa is supposed to have 27 figures of Lord Shiva. And and it is supposed to be made out of a single stone. And around that you can have, you would see 27 forms of Shiva. And there is one particular form which I would like to talk about, is the most famous depiction of Meenakshi, which you find in almost every Hindu invitation card, is that Tirukalyana, the Kanika Danam, where the girl Meenakshi is given away in marriage. That depiction, the Lord is called the Kalyana Sundarar, where you see the goddess is in the middle, and this is exactly where it is. It's the statue is there in the Nandi Mandapam, where Shiva is on the right, to our right, and Meenakshi is in the middle, and on the left you see Mahavishnu. And he is giving away Meenakshi in marriage. So there is a deeper reason to depict this and to propagate this. And the thing is, when Tirumala Nayak was ruling, he was a Vaishnavite, and the public could not accept a Vaishnavite taking full control of a Shaivite temple. Because at that era, they were all like different cults in the same religion. It was all functioning separately. The Vaishnavites were, the Vishnu worshippers called themselves Vaishnavites, and the Shiva worshippers believed in Shaivam, and the mother goddess worshippers said they were the supreme most, and they called themselves the Devi Upasakas, and they followed Shaktam. And there were a group worshipping only Ganesha, calling their cult as Ganapatyam. And there was one group which worshipped only Lord Subramanya and called it Kaumaram. And there was another group which only worshipped Lord, the sun god, and called themselves Shauris, or their religion was called Shauram. So each one were in contradiction to one another because they said they were the supreme most. So Tirumala Nayakar wanted to break that. And he said, this unrest which is happening with public has to be stopped. And so he arrived at this sort of a depiction where Shiva of Shaktam, Shiva of Saivam, and Vishnu of Vaishnavam, and Meenakshi, the supreme most of Shaktam, are all there in this, where Mahavishnu is the brother of Meenakshi. He gives her away in marriage to Shiva, who becomes her husband. So in a way, he has instilled into the people that we are not in any way different and we all belong to the same family. And that is what has calmed down the people of Madurai. And that is how the Nayaks were able to continue to rule the town. And he has been so good that he has also had this Pudu Mandapam. He has created a Pudu Mandapam opposite the Meenakshi Temple on the eastern side, because he ruled Madurai, the Pandya region from Srivilliputtur, which is very near Madurai. And he saw that there is a Vaishnavite culture of doing this Tirumanjanam or Yennakap for Andal. So he created this Pudu Mandapam, and he had some beautiful sculptures like this depicting in the Pudu Mandapam. And he had these this Yennakapu Utsavam done to Meenakshi. He said there's nothing like Shaivite, Vaishnavite and all that. We have to have what was done to Andal to Meenakshi also. He was so attached to the temple and to the goddess that there is another story when Kumaragurupara had come to Aragat to launch his poetry work, the Pillai Tamil. There is a little child which came and sat in his lap and gave him a big appreciation and appreciated Kumaragurupara and went away. And that disappeared in the crowd and could never be found. And that was none other than Goddess Meenakshi herself. So, Lord, this Tirumala Nayakar has had the privilege of and the blessings of Meenakshi for his unselfish way of showering his bhakti on her and bhakti or devotion on her. So we have now, let us go to the temple's festivals. Rather than starting first, we had the biggest festival, the Brahma Utsavam. First, we had the float festival, the Thaipusam in January, which just recently happened. As I told you the story of how that Vandiur tank came, the float festival of Meenakshi happens in Vandiur. And then we have the Mandala Utsavam, which follows in the next month, which is in February. Earlier the celestial wedding happened in February. That is why the gods come around in the Masi streets. Though now it was shifted to April by Tirumala Nayakar, none other than him. And he did that because he wanted to combine the Alagar festival along with this. And also the river will have lesser water flowing during summer. So he had converted the Mahasi festival into a Chitra festival, which is the Brahma Utsavam, where there is the car festival, everything happening. And then we have something called the Velli Ambala Utsavam, which is happening in March. And April is the Brahma Utsavam. And then we have the Vasanta Utsavam in May. And we have in June, we have the Swing Festival, the Unjal Tirunal, which is in Adi, in the month of Adi, and Ani. And then in Adi, in July and August, we have a festival where the Pandyas, who were Tevars by caste, have considered the goddess to be their race, and they do a sort of a ritual on her, what they normally do to a girl who comes of age. So during the Adi Perik, there is a Drishti Sutra, there's a festival, there is a way of, they do their own rituals on her. And that happens in August. And in September, we have the Golu. The Navaratri is one of the biggest depictions in Madurai. And then we have in the month of the next following month, in October, we have something called the Kolata Utsavam, where we do have a sort of a dandiya, which is a very South Indian sort of a dandiya, where young girls come and they do this kolatam. And they all, Meenakshi herself is supposed to be a small child. She comes and does the kolatam, and she worships the bull called Basuman and prays that the city of Madurai remains intact. So we have the Navaratri festival, and then we have the Kolata Utsavam in October. And we have this Lakshadweepam. Even now for Kartigai in November, we've got this 1 lakh lamps are being lit around the Golden Lotus tank, which is a very big festival, the Lakshadweepam. And after that, in December, we have this Yannakapu Utsavam in Pudumandapam for Meenakshi. So the city is a temple city, which is full of festivals. Sometimes each festival overlaps the other. So it is a city of festivals and city of joy and celebration. And even today, Meenakshi stands as a mystic force protecting us and everybody. When somebody comes here to Madurai, I request you, a very senior person who's a friend of mine has taught me that. He said, instead of you getting very emotionally involved, just step back and look at all the people who are coming and what attitude they come with. And what sort of dialogues they have when they go. You just observe. I was very surprised to find that each one considers Meenakshi the ownership of the goddess. And there is another group who considers Meenakshi as the daughter of their house, and they go and buy all sorts of things and offer to her. So Meenakshi is a big emotion to the people of Madurai. Meenakshi is a warrior queen. Meenakshi is a revolutionary queen who has inherited her father's empire. Something which was made legal in 1989 has happened long back in Madurai. She has inherited her father, and she continues to be an emotion. And I'm very, very sure that, there was I conclude by telling this story of Rose Peter, who was an Englishman who was the collector of Madurai. And he developed so much of love for the goddess that he has made, when the goddess comes in a horse, in the Gudra Vahanam, he felt that her feet will ache. So he has made golden stirrups for her. It still is there, made by Rose Peter, who was a Christian. And he has also written in his will that when he passes away, he wants his coffin, which is put in our present YWCA place. His particular coffin will be kept oblique because he said, I want my coffin to be placed facing the Meenakshi's Gopuram. Even after I pass away, I have all my respects for the goddess. So that is the kind of a feeling that she has evoked on all people of all castes, creed, and religion. So probably that is why Madurai continues to be the oldest continuously existing town in the world. And today Madurai, the language of Tamil, which was born in this sacred city, is considered to be the oldest language, oldest spoken language, and it has been declared as a Chemmori. And so I would conclude by thanking Mani Megle and the groups for having listened to me. And Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arvind. I think you shared a lot of information. I think this just giving 1 hour for such a magnificent temple is absolutely not enough. But I think you've covered some important points there. We should go in for the audience questions now. I'll just read out the questions. We have one from Lalita Sivasailam. She says she joined a little late, but she wants to know about Puttu Tiruvizha. I would like to know about the Puttu Tiruvizha.
Yes, yes. Puttu Tiruvizha happens in August. It is part of the Avani Moola Tirunal. Avani, when you look at, is exactly 6 months from Masi. Masi, Panguni, Chitrai, Vaigasi, Ani, Adi. So in Avani, the goddess is supposed to have given her crown to Shiva himself. So according to the belief, 6 months Meenakshi is ruling, 6 months Shiva is ruling. So she is supposed to have said, I've surrendered my ego to him. So he has treated me as his equal partner. See, all this has been very revolutionary those days. As man and wife, they have had equal. There is no ego. Today's children should know. There should be surrender of ego between man and wife. There should be equality. You should rule for 6 months. The other one rule for 6 months. And so that happens in Avani Masam. When this Puttu Tiruvizha also happens, it is one of those series of festivals when there is a old lady who is selling this, it is a dish which you eat, a rice pancake kind of thing. So she doesn't have children, and when there is a flood in the river, the king has ordered everybody to send their children to dig out mud to bring down the velocity of the force of the river. And she doesn't have children. This man who comes says, I will go do the job for you because you don't have children, but instead you must give me this puttu to eat. So he is supposed to go and depict, and then he's supposed to eat the puttu. And that happens in Puttu Thopa even now. And that person who went is none other than Lord Sundareshwara himself. So that is another pride to Madurai. He has been, the mud of Madurai he has taken and put on his head. He's so much, we are privileged as Maduraites for what he has done. And he took it, and that is the story behind the Puttu Tiruvizha.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Any other questions, participants? You can type it here, or you can just, lift your hand. I can unmute yourself, and you can ask the question. What about Arvind? I have a question. There were a lot of the Samana Samayam, Jains were there predominantly. So, does the architecture reflect any, Jain saints and Jain prevalence of Jainism in Madurai? Because we all know that Koon Pandian was a Jain before he converted to Saivism. So, and I believe the temple was closed also for some time during his rule.
Yes.
So Jains were prevalent during the time. Architecture also has any Jain sculptures and Jain saints in the temple?
I feel that there would have been a lot of Jain depictions somewhere, but it may have been transformed into something else by today. So we don't have literal Jain depictions in the temple campus. Out the temple campus, we have something like our, for example, we have our Pandi Koil, Pandi Muniswarar, is supposed to be Lord Buddha. Converted into Pandi Muni. It has been authentically proved. Is by archaeologists. Like that, there is a big controversy because it's a very sensitive thing. People don't talk about it. They say that our
You're muted. Arvind, you're muted. Yes.
When I was talking about Parani Temple, there is a big that the Dandayatapani in the Payani temple is a Jain himself. So like that, we don't know. Here we may have some Jain depictions, which once Shaivism took over, they completely converted the whole thing into some other this thing. So there are, in fact, I met somebody who said Meenakshi herself is comes from a lineage of the Buddhist this thing, and they brought in Buddhism apart from the Jainism which came in, and so we don't know. Depictions have not been there in the temple campus. There are depictions, but it's a very, very thought-provoking, interesting question. We have got the 8 hillocks around Madurai which have Jain inscriptions. We have the Nagamalai, we have the Kizhakuilkudi, we have the Yanamalai itself. We have a lot of Jain depictions in Yanamalai, Narasimha temple, and all that. Why not in the main Meenakshi temple? I really don't know.
Probably it was taken away, like you rightly said.
There was unrest when they wanted Tirumala Nayakar to go away. There was a big temple of Kariyamanika Perumal which the public went in and broke down completely into shambles. That is when he said we should stop this, and he brought about the Kalyana Sundara theory.
Oh. And we have one question from R.S. Murali. He says, a very informative, interesting session. Is there any Sthala Puranam? You recommend any reading? Because Sthala Puranam is huge, right? So do you recommend anything, any book or something where everything is given?
But in the temple, Devasthanam, they have Sthala Puranam. But online, I don't know whether it's available on sale or not. But you have that. You can even buy anything on Thiruvilayadal Puranam where partially there is a lot of mention of Nagar Kanum Padalam, where the city emerges, then the goddess is born. Everything comes as part of Thiruvilayadal Puranam also. So which is more easily available. In fact, I'm also putting an English book together on the celestial game of Lord Shiva, the Thiruvilayadal. So once
that's wonderful.
I can definitely share.
Definitely, please share. It will be wonderful to read that. We have a question. Yeah, tell me.
No, it is 64 celestial games. That book, I will definitely give it to you. But I think Sthala Puranam, as Sthala Puranam, I don't think it is there. But definitely, I think we should come out with something like that. Simpler story, everybody can understand.
Yes, especially the next generation. They should know about this. These matters.
Our Amar Chitra Katha is what is saved us.
Yes.
Given
especially our generation, when Amar Chitra Katha came. That is.
Today thinking of Mahabharata itself about Amba, Ambika, Amba, everything from Amar Chitra Katha. Like that, we should have Meenakshi also in this sort of a cartoon.
Yes. There is a question from JS. What are the language scripts on the sculptures and how are they chronologically dated by language? The language scripts.
The language script is the Tamil Brahmi, that is the Vatta. So it is the technical details of it. I think I'll have to refer and only tell you, but I can tell you the Tamil Brahmi basically.
Okay. So are they chronologically dated by language? Like which comes first, which comes next?
They arrive at it somehow.
Yeah.
Because, in some places where the confusion came was, they have broken down some things in stone where the inscriptions were there, and then they've used it to rebuild something else. So you find it somewhere else, and it's halfway missing. These sort of slight confusions are there in certain areas, but otherwise easily, I think they have arrived at something chronologically.
Yeah. There's one question about Sthala Vriksham. Which is the Sthala Vriksham of Madurai?
Sthala Vriksham is supposed to be the Kadamba tree, the Manja Kadamba. Manja Kadamba. There is a Neer Kadamba also. The Manja is, unfortunately, in the entire Madurai region, we don't have a single tree. So from Intact, in association with CP Art Foundation, we started planting 100 saplings some 24 years back. So there are a lot of trees various people, at least, out of those 100 trees, a few have existed.
This is the Kadamba tree, not the
Kadamba.
Kadamba tree. Okay, but I think Kabalisura is also Kadamba, right?
I really,
Kadamba Banam. I
Kadamba
think there is a Kadamba tree in Kabalisura also. I'm not sure about the Salavriksham there.
there are 2, 3 Kadambas, no? Neer Kadambai, Manja Kadamba. This is the
So Manja Kadamba is the one for Madurai, right?
Madurai.
So there's a question about the parrot in the hands of the goddess. So what does that signify? So the Selvam has asked.
In the Pandya region, there is the Pandyas believed in the fact that God is within us. So their depictions of the goddess were a deity with 2 hands. Whereas the Cholas, as versus this belief, they believed in the fact that the God is somebody who's supernatural, who's above us, and it's for us to go and reach out. So their depictions of goddess were goddesses with more hands, 8 hands, 4 hands, as versus the Brihanayaki in Tanjavur or Virami. You can find a Kantimati or a Meenakshi with. So our goddesses have 2 hands. That is the first point. Second is to have the parrot. Normally, anybody who's ruling is supposed to have a parrot in their hand. And that parrot is supposed to keep reminding them to stay focused on what they are doing. So since they are depicting her as a, as a queen, she is given a parrot in her hand. And to prove that, you can even see that in Parani, when you have the Raja Alankaram, when he is depicted as a king, you will have a parrot put on his dandam. He'll be having a parrot there also. So maybe that theory is right. And the parrot actually is not there in the statue. It is something which is placed in silver or in gold on her hand when they do the alankaram. So we don't know originally whether Meenakshi had the parrot, but definitely the Kumaragurupara Swami is supposed to have taken the form of a parrot. There is another story also. He is supposed to have done the kudu vittu kudu paayirudhu. He went into as a parrot and went in. And when he came back, they are supposed to have burnt his body down, thinking that he's dead. So he remained as a parrot. So there is a story like that also, which is a very interesting mythology. Very interesting.
Yeah, lots of fascinating stories, right? So that was a great explanation. The ruler, the goddess, the queen has the parrot in her hands. I've never heard of that. I learned something new today. Manju Hinduja asks, we are not allowed cameras in the temple. Is there any way to get high definition images? I want to convert them into Tanjo paintings. I'm looking for first-hand images and not the viral images online. So
No,
is there? Yeah.
We can permission and take camera in to shoot, not the sanctum, but inside the temple it is allowed. Only thing that is not allowed, I don't know, they're very strict about it, is you're not allowed to take the tripod. So some camera give permission. You have to take extra permission. A lot of fuss is made out of it. Nowadays, as the years go by, it's becoming stricter and stricter, but still it is allowed. But there are high definition images taken by photographers. You can get it. We can. What do they want for tangent? The main goddess they need. Main goddess we don't.
Main goddess. I think Manju means the sculptures. There are some beautiful sculptures. So
Yeah.
I think if you take permission, Manju, you can go ahead, take those pictures, and definitely. So since we don't have any questions, it's time for Mamta to come in. We have a special person from Madurai who's going to give us the closing comments. She is actually from the North India, but she has made Madurai her hometown now. We have Mamta Fomra, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to introduce an accomplished entrepreneur, designer, philanthropist, and a community leader, Dr. Mamta Fomra. She is the city president, Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce, Madurai. She has a passion for aesthetics and a discerning eye for detail. Dr. Mamta has established herself as the first designer label in the city of Madurai, and she has made a great presence in the city. And Dr. Mamta is also a pioneer in customized coaching in fashion designing and has established the Mamta Fomra Institute of Fashion Management and arts. She empowers women through her brand and the Mamta Komra Foundation, and trains and supports domestic help workers to create sustainable income. So it's truly an honor to have Dr. Mamta Komra with us to give her closing comments to this absolutely awesome session on the Madurai Meenakshi Temple. Over to you, Mamta.
Thank you so much, Meghu, for that introduction. But hi, Arvind. Hi to my dear friends, both of you. All this is special because Arvind is so special. He's special to the heart. He's the brother I've had ever since I came from, North India, and looking for someone closer home. And Arvind is one figure whom you cannot escape, both magnanimous through heart and by his presence. So there is no, pun intended. There is just a heart full of warmth for him. For two also big reasons. He's a very genuine person, and a person whom you can just relate instantaneously, who drives emotions, who is empathetic to the core and related to the topic. There is no one better than him. He's just not empowered with the knowledge that he has actually told you or answered all the questions, or regarding the Meenakshi Temple today, or the vicinity around, or Madurai by itself. Knowledge many people can give you, but what he adds special is the passion that drives him. The knowledge that he has is driven and is supported by the passion, and that passion is just, it's a force, it's a drive. And that comes, I think, naturally to Arvind. I think he's best, my husband and myself always tells, he's the best cultural ambassador. He is the best, I would say, the heritage, driving component that we have around us. And I think the whole of Madurai knows that. And of course, the key founding member, the founder of INTAC here, that itself shows that, how he takes people along, and how he's the people's person, and how he can make things happen. So it's all because, that has a special place in his heart. One thing that Arvind told really moved me, and that Arvind just walks the talk. He told, when knowledge falls on ego, ego disappears. He told in different contexts, but as a human being, have seen Arvind walk this talk. He just doesn't tell that in the air, and he knows, when the archery, gets out, the arrow gets out, it actually comes back, to strengths to go and shoot that far. Arvind is that person. He knows when to take the 2 steps back, and that's what will take him, so much ahead. So that's what defines Arvind Shankar. And regarding the temple, what he told, I have heard many stories from him, so much more which he didn't tell today. And that stories just match with the magnificence, the majesticness, and makes it more mesmerizing and magical. To the Mata we call, the Devi, the Meenakshi Devi, we call it as Mata and the Ma. So all these M's just add to it, So that's what, that's the kind of stories Arvind is always told in bits and pieces here and there, during all the conversations that we've had so many times over dinners and lunches. And he drives the topic, like I said, with great zeal and enthusiasm and passion, like nobody else. And I can tell over and over and again, because over and over above, over so many years I've heard that. And the answers that, what always also was on the tip of his tongue was not just he remembers, all of us talk about late 40s and initial 30s, and we are in the mid 40s syndrome, and we're forgetting things. He's also forgetful, remember. But I don't know how these stories he remembers by heart. And every time you ask him, he will tell it the same way, with same passion. It's because it's all here, it's not here. So you lose the memory here. But this is something which goes towards the fag end of your life. I think he has a long way to go. So Thank you for the wonderful session, Arvind. And it's because of you that Meghu remembered me after a very long time. Jokes apart. So thank
So,
you
Mamta,
for...
we can never forget the Women's Economic Forum, Madurai, which you spearheaded. That was such a wonderful event with galaxy of speakers from across the globe. So that was your event. That was your event. So we can never forget you. And Arvind was the speaker there. That was my first introduction to Arvind as a speaker. So I thought that he should, grace this Ask the Expert sometime. And it has happened today. I think Arvind should, he's a singer, he's an instrumental player, and he wears so many hats, right? So Mamta, that was a wonderful closing which you gave. And one point which you had picked up about the ego and the knowledge. Absolute. I also love that line. So, thank you so much, Mamta.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Meghu. Thank you, Arvind. Yes.
Much welcome.
Arvind, there is one question, if you have time. Somebody has asked, I think Venkatraman has asked the significance of the Pachai Pudavaikari. As Varaloti Rangasamy, the famous writer, he always says Pachai Pudavaikari. What is the significance behind the green sari of Meenakshi Amma?
I think she is supposed to be a Maragada Shyama. She is herself supposed to be green in color. Anything green is refers to her. So folkishly, she is referred to as the Pacha Padavakari. And her, I think any green pasture is called Meenakshi. Like in Abhirami Andadi, Kumbadi Kandu Kondain, Kadamba Davil, Pankalikum Kural Vinayum Kayum, Vayodaram, Mankalikum Pachai Vandam. You are the green color which brings joy to the earth. When the nature is in full bounty, it is totally green in color. So you bring joy to us, like how plants bring joy to mankind. Even crops bring joy to mankind because how it keeps us alive. She's supposed to be depicted like that, and that is why our Bhuma Devi is depicted green in color in the Vaishnavites. In the Kaumaram, Valli is depicted like that when it comes to Valli Devane. So Perumal is Pachema Malaipol Meni. He is also supposed to be depicted in green, and she's supposed to be the younger sister of him. So probably that is why she is in. Mamta, please. You have one Pachai Pudavai, exhibition in your with your brand, because you belong to the world of the Pachai Pudavakari.
Yeah, designer label. Mamta
Definitely, with your support, we'll definitely do that, Arvind. Not at all a problem. And
Since
that's a good
Madurai,
guidance.
The Pachai Pudavaikari, please roll it out from your label, Mamta.
We'll do it, Arvind. Definitely. Yes.
Sridhar, who's that Varluti Rangasamy? He's none other than our auditor Sridhar.
He is also from Madurai, yes.
Yes. We'll do
He's
that.
known as Pachai Pudavaikari. So
let's do one more WEF in July and let's do everything together.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So thank you so much, Arvind. So it was an absolutely awesome session. We have to close because we are just 1 hour, we had told earlier.
Yes.
And thanks, participants. Just a little note about the next speaker. The next session is on 11th March at 11 a.m. It is Kalai Mamani S. Lakshmi, and the topic is music and health under healthcare insights. So music and health is so much to talk about, sort of like continuation of today about our culture, right? So I hope to see you all on the 11th of March at 11 a.m. It's not at 4:30, it's at 11 a.m. All the flyers will come to you, and please check our Facebook and social media handles also. Thank you so much, all of you, participants and dear speakers, for this absolutely awesome session. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.